guys, welcome back to Plow and Pantry. I'm Alicia if you're new here, and today we're doing a garden tour for the very end of July. During the summer I do my garden tours every 2 weeks because there is a lot of change and growth over the summer. So there's a mid-month and an end of the month, and there has been change to record. We did have a storm come through last night and it was raining this morning, so there are some things I have not come through yet today, and I am a little worried. I haven't checked for storm damage, and there always is at least something. So you'll discover that with me today. Before we get started, I wanted to really quick go over a couple things for August. One is it's the Every Bit Counts challenge. And if you're not familiar with that challenge, it's put on by Three Rivers Homestead, and I can link that channel below. And it's where you try to preserve something, even a little bit, if that's all you have, every single day in August. Last year was the first year I participated in that, and it was a really fun, great way to make myself kind of push and get even the little things done. And when I look back at what I did last year, I can say I probably did about 40% more food preservation than I would have pushed myself to do previously. Because every now and then I'm like, I don't have very much of this, it's not worth preserving, or I'll wait and then that part's gone bad. And so I don't get little things done, but it really did add up when I looked at the end of last month. So join me this month for that. I will be giving weekly updates on what I've preserved. And I'm going to try to be a little better this year about getting footage of what I preserve as I go and doing a couple dedicated food preservation videos along the way each week. So join me for that. Moving on to the garden tour. I am right here in the watermelon patch. This Sugar Baby watermelon is doing absolutely fabulous. The storm has blown it over more than once. We've had several storms the last 2 weeks. First part of the summer, crazy hot, no rain, and the last 2 weeks have been a lot of rain and wind, a lot of wind damage. So in fact, my neighbors like down the street lost the roof on one of their barns. Ugh. I'm glad we haven't had anything that bad here. We've lost one small tree that was dead and we were going to remove. But these watermelons are doing great. I have one that's probably going to be ready to pick this week. That will be our first this year. And over here, this one is Crimson Sweet, is probably doing the next best. Normally this one is gangbusters for me, and this year it's not. I might need to bring some fertilizer for it. Right here, I just planted this week a couple new seedlings. I don't know that I have time for them to grow, but it's a close thing, and you never know when you're going to have a late frost, so I thought I'd go ahead and try. But Sugar Baby Bush and Black Jewel is new for me. I did plant these at the same time as those originally, but I direct sowed them and birds got my seeds, and so I planted new starts that I made. Up here was a watermelon spot that, again, the birds ate, and so I just plopped an extra zucchini in there. And that one, same time I plopped one here and two in extra spaces on the other end of the garden. And this one is going gangbusters. Those ones are not liking their spot very much. Right here behind me are the tomatillos, and they're doing well. So here's the thing. The tomatoes had it too hot to really bloom and keep going early in the year this year. But the tomatillos love that. They technically are not okay for my zone, so they love the extra heat. It has cooled down. We had a few days even like in the high 70s. The tomatoes finally got new blooms and stuff, but the tomatillos don't like. They do have blooms, and I had a whole bunch of these things, the little lantern shaped things, but a lot of them dropped off during the cool down instead of filling up with tomatillos. So we'll see if it gets hot enough later this summer to give us some tomatillos. I do need to get out here and tie a couple up, or tie one up. Behind me over here, the pepper row, most of them are doing well. There's a couple strugglers, and some of these are new to me, and so I'm always experimenting with peppers and tomatoes. I'm not sure if that is just the type of pepper they are, or if they're not happy. I will take a closer look at them sometime this week. Potatoes in the middle are doing well, but very weedy. I don't know why my potatoes tend to grab more weeds in the middle section than the other crops. The onions, half of them I harvested. I harvested all of my red candy onions and my candy onions and part of my Walla Wallas. I still have all my Pattersons and Walla Wallas growing. Next 2 weeks or so, they'll be ready. Onions are an area that I zone push. And if you're not familiar with zone pushing, it's when you're close to something, but not quite there. That will grow in your area, and so you grow it anyways, like I do with the tomatillos. They technically don't grow in my area, but if I get them in a hot enough spot, we have a hot concentrated section of summer. It's usually enough to get some. So the onions, if you're not familiar with how onions grow, you have to select the ones you grow by short day, intermediate day, or long day. If you look at any map of where I am, they will either show that I'm a short day or an intermediate day. I do not have any luck with short day at all. That's the red candy onions are always small for me. I always want to try them, and they're always small. I think next year I will get myself to try a long day red onion. I just need to find one that's as sweet as I like. The Walla Wallas, I believe, are a long day. I'll look that up and put it on the screen to make sure. But they grow very well for me, and technically I'm not in a long day on any map that I've ever seen. Again, the Pattersons, I believe, are also a long day, and I tried, those are new to me this year. I wanted to try them because they're supposed to be better for long-term storage, and they're doing great. So it's one of those things where the more you grow in your particular area, the more you know what you can and can't get away with. So just saying that for those onions. Moving on, let's check out the pumpkins I planted. So the pumpkins over here are doing well. If you didn't see the video where I planted these, I can link it for you. I got like a quarter of them mulched, and I'm not mulched in the watermelon area completely. I'm not mulched here completely. It takes time and money to go get mulched. They have to have it in stock, and then I don't like to get it right after it rains because they're heavy and wet and leave gross smells in the car. And when I do go get it, I can only get like 6 to 8 bags at a time in my car. So for a garden that's almost a quarter of an acre, that's not very much. So I do have almost half the row planted now. I still don't have them all planted, but I did get a few more in. These ones are adjusting well so far. They're starting to put on new growth. They're starting to green up. They're starting to lose those little cotyledon leaves at the bottom. And there is quite the variety here. I will go over the varieties that I planted maybe when I harvest them, or in future video garden tour videos when there are some baby pumpkins on there and I can show you which ones are which, because right now they just all look the same. But there's everything from the Cinderella pumpkins to the little different colored ones, stuff like that. Somebody asked how much pumpkin we eat because I'm planting so many. I think I have 76 to plant. We don't eat pumpkin, really. I make like 2 things with canned pumpkin. So I did plant some sugar pie. I will mash and freeze that. I grow these for fall decoration. I love the piles of pumpkins for fall decoration, but they're really expensive to buy and they're cheap to grow. So I grow them for that. And then usually after I decorate, I will invite a friend or 2 over with their little kids to like pumpkin patch picks. So that's the plan. Let's move on to the cucumbers. Remember, I am trialing cucumbers for the University of Tennessee. I have 3 rows of slicing cucumbers, and they are all doing very different things right now. Okay, so in this row, I'm going to have to put a name on the screen because so UT trials, I've said this before, but just in case you're new here, the University of Tennessee trials are home garden comparison trials. So they will send you 2 of a certain type of thing to grow together and compare. So in this case, I have 2 slicing cucumbers, 2 burpless cucumbers, and I also have 2 mini cucumbers. So 6 different types of slicing cucumbers, fresh eating cucumbers this year. Because I'm doing so many for them this year, I decided not to do any of the normal ones I do for slicing. My normal ones are just the Chicago pickles down there. But in this row, I have Tasty, and then I forgot what the second is. The Tasty have been just starting to give me cucumbers. They're good. They are about yay long, maybe like 8 inches long, kind of normal, smooth skin, about normal size. It's kind of semi-thin, actually. And then so far, those are doing better than the other ones. And then down at the end here, I plopped in some minis, and these ones are Diva. And the Diva are actually to be compared with those, which are mini-me's right there. And so both of these smaller ones, these are both, like, you're supposed to pick them at like 4 inches long. These are both growing, as you can see, pretty well compared to some of the others. So these are both growing well. I will say between those, the mini-me's are very prolific. The Divas are not, but the Divas taste a good bit better, in my opinion. So there are some on here. And then this row is Gateway and Eversweet, and these are burpless. So I think I've gotten 1 off of these so far. They've been growing and they just kind of flowered out over this past week. So there's a lot of flowers on them right now. I see a little bee. We will probably have cucumbers in a week or 2 off of here. And the one I tried was pretty good. I don't remember which one it was though, but I did write it down because I take notes for that when I'm to turn in. But then we have the mini-me's there, and then I finished this row with Chicago pickles, and that's what all the rest are. I never actually got in to fill in the ones that didn't make it, but the cucumbers are all doing well. I'm just now starting to see signs of powdery mildew, which is, if you've ever grown cucumbers, you kind of expect it. Powdery mildew is just a thing, and you just kind of deal with it. I usually deal with it in the beginning of the year with just snipping off the leaves I start to see the little beginning spots on, and I just try to keep it at bay as much as I can that way. I have tried a couple things. I've tried milk spray, and that does work well, but I just hate doing it. So what I usually do is just eventually, when it takes over, if there's time left in the season, I'll sow a second batch. But usually by then, because cucumbers are so prolific, I don't really feel the need for that. These are the Chicago pickles, and as you can see, they are just a little slower growing than all of the slicing pickles. These are pickling cucumbers. They're my standard that I use. And here you can see some of the pumpkins that I got planted but haven't been mulched yet. Whatever this one is, the Marquis de Provence, has kind of a variegated leaf. It's cute. A little bit of white on it. Okay. Let's go down to the raised bed area, and then we'll come back up the other side. Hello, geese. Okay, so out here, oh dear. Hello, buddy. I have some swallowtail caterpillars eating my dill, and I have been trying to allow them to have a snack and grow, but I ended up having to kill a couple. There's nothing else I grow that they like to eat as much, but I think I have 3 growing here on this one plant, just munching away. I'm trying to just leave enough for me because I grow herbs for myself, not for them. But so note, this is what I do. What I do. I note to myself for next year, plant extra dill because I love those swallowtail butterflies. I think they're beautiful, and then I can share a little bit more. So I left the 3 biggest ones and got rid of 2 small ones for the chickens, figuring they were probably the closest to being done eating and wouldn't have as far to go on that. So right here I have two bell peppers that are growing nicely. These are red varieties, so they're not ripe yet. I've got one down there starting to ripen. And then this is mostly herbs. I need to come out here and harvest again. The basil every year is just trying to keep up with it because it wants to flower. And oh, hello, little bee. The parsley I have been harvesting off. Parsley and basil I like to use fresh almost every day too. I put them in salads, I'll put them in eggs. And so I've been out there here, besides preserving, like dehydrating and freeze drying it, I have also been out here just snipping some fresh every day for that kind of thing. Over here in the hot pepper bed, we have Kilimanjaro marigolds are doing well. The Tabasco peppers are just starting to put on flowers. They're a little bit behind everybody as far as the flowers go, but I do have several of those in here. The Sugar Rush peach are loaded with tiny little babies. And then the jalapenos up here are going gangbusters. I've got lots of them. I planted different types of jalapenos this year. I normally plant Craig's Grande jalapeno, and this year I just had different ones to try. And they are good. They're just smaller, and I think I'll go back to the Craig's Grande because I have been looking forward to making a specific recipe with stuffed jalapenos, and the Craig's Grande are bigger by quite a bit, and I just want to have them. And then along the other side of this bed are the Anaheim chilies, which are going crazy. I have been preserving. I have one batch canned. Those are what I make my green chilies with, and I just picked up some canning tomatoes. I'll come to that when we get to the tomatoes. And so I'm going to be making tomatoes with green chilies, rotel, pretty much. And so those are full. And then over here, let's go in closer. I did pick up a trick with the lettuce, so I'm going to say that this one did actually do okay in the heat. It is starting to bolt now, so I've been pulling out a little bit at a time and feeding the chickens. The jigsaw pepper that I love to plant just because it's beautiful, more marigolds. So over there is where I have my 2 extra zucchini, and one of them is still growing but just not looking great, and the other one is looking really sad. I do have a serious problem out here with ants, and I have always just kind of tried to let things go as natural, but this year I've had to start trying to kill the ants because they're just everywhere, and I'm getting bit up crazy, and they're making the ground hard around the plants, and it has been very difficult to get rid of them, but I'm still trying. So the banana peppers are coming back on. I had just harvested and canned some of those, That's what I like to use instead of pepperoncinis. This bed over here is one of the ones that is full of ants, and it has a bunch of red peppers and snacking peppers, like the little ones. And those are coming on. Yeah, see, here's ants right here. That whole section. These are coming on, but they are not, well, some of them are. The snacking peppers have the most on them right now. These red ones are, some of them are just starting to flower. They have this weird, I think I might be getting spider mites out here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come spray with some stuff. This bed behind me, I weeded it, which took days because it was so packed of bad stuff. The bed's falling apart. I put some herbs in here. The herbs are still alive, but I've had to just I only had enough mulch for that one spot, and the weeds took back over. They do that fast around here. That's what happens. Here's the reality. That quarter is the messy quarter. I've got asparagus, and then we'll go over to that side. So these are more peppers. I've got jalapenos over there. I kept them in a different box this year so that I could easily keep them separated. And then I have some California Wonder Bell peppers, which I've been harvesting off of. They're doing great. There's still more. There's more on here. They're doing great for me. I've got an nasturtium over here that I occasionally pull some chunks and blooms from and give to the chickens because they love that. Sweet potatoes are doing great. Growing out of their box as they always do. This was only 6 plants, so sweet potatoes always do great. I don't grow them every year because we don't eat that many, and so I tend to end up preserving enough for 2 years with 1 year's growth. Although last time I did have a whole 12-foot bed of this, but I still think this will be enough for the year for us. Unless we suddenly decide that we like a lot more sweet potato things. If you love sweet potatoes, put in the comments what your favorite thing to do with them is, other than a baked sweet potato. I like that occasionally, but I'm the only one in my family who does. I do like to cut them up and put them in like a morning, I don't know, a skillet type thing with sausage and kale and bell peppers and onions. So if you have different ideas of what you like to do with sweet potatoes, you let me know. So over here, this bed is empty. I have put like weed paper in the bottom and just to keep the weeds down because it's going to take a while to get to fill it, but this is where I plan on putting some fall crops really soon. I did get this bed filled this week. I think I'll have that video coming out in a couple days. And planted carrots, basically root crops, carrots, turnips, beets. I did forget to pre-soak my beets, and so I'm not sure that they're going to come up because I've never planted them without doing that, so I'm not sure if they'll come up. Some lettuces in there as well, radishes, did I say that? And I kind of planted those, like separating them out a little bit, like a carrot, a radish, lettuce, carrot, like that type of thing. Just because I always think that's so pretty when it grows. I just planted it, I think, yesterday, so nothing's come up yet. Let me check it and make sure. Yeah, nothing's come up yet, but I specifically raced to get the carrots in the ground when I did 2 days ago because I knew we had rain in the forecast a little bit every day, and I like carrot seeds have to stay wet till they germinate, and I don't like to do the whole like newspaper, whatever, boards on top, etc. and try to remember to, because here newspaper is not enough, it will dry as well. Boards, you got to try to remember to bring them off, take them off stuff. So I just decided to do it. I like to just plant them right before it's going to rain for a while and stay wet naturally. So that's what I attempt to do there. I'm seeing the first rain damage over here in the corn. Let's take a look. Mexican sunflower I need to trim. These are taking their sweet time bushing up, man. So, in the beans too. Okay, this is, it looks like the backside is even worse. I'm gonna have to take you around back to look at that. So this is typical in our area at least once a summer for your corn to fall down. I'm gonna have to come out here and shore it up, kind of hill it a little bit with dirt around the bottom. They usually do spring back though, so that's good. So this is the backside of the corn, and the funny thing is our wind usually comes from the other way, so the corn usually falls down this way, but it looks like this side is worse than the normal other side. And I have weeds encroaching over here because it's along the chicken fence. Say hi, ladies. They're wet. It was raining this morning. Something is also eating my corn, and I'm not sure what I've never had anything eating the leaves of the corn. I've had these little corn bud worm type thingies eating the top of the actual corn cob, but I have never had anything eating the leaves, and I'm not sure. It's got to be some sort of caterpillar. It's my thought. Completely sure though. It looks like caterpillar damage, but also looks a little bit different. I do not know what it is. I have not been able, I've come out here and checked several times, and I have not been able to find the culprit. I need to come out at night. Okay. So the green beans. Looking good here, except this one looks like it got snapped off and is already dying. Comfrey is already, all that comfrey I pulled out in here is coming back up here and there. Crazy. But there are baby green beans on here. I've been eating some fresh. I need to come harvest some. So these 2 batches are the ones I'm trialing for UT. These are the ones I grow on my own. Those are the Blue Lake. They're bush beans this year. I didn't have any more pole space. And these are the Bourde Roquencourt yellow wax beans that I absolutely love. The tomato tunnel is doing decent. These are all of the smaller salad tomatoes, little cherry size. They constantly have to be wove back up through here though, but I have liked the trellis, the arch trellis for this type of tomato because they grow so long. They grow like 9-10 feet tall, and they just flop over and die and make messes over on my regular trellises. So I like having the space to go over the top because by the end of summer, they will be meeting up there. These have just started coming on. A lot of these are experimental for me this year. My favorites, my orange peruches are down here at the ends. I absolutely love them. The yellow pears I like to grow, and I know every year that they are going to split when it rains, which they did, but that's okay because the chickens love tomatoes. And so I just pull off the ones that are split and put them over there. But they're all doing well. They all have babies now. There are 2 that I have not been able to try yet, that I haven't had them ripe enough to try. But I've been keeping track of which one, because if you did not see previous videos, I am in search of a new favorite cherry-sized red tomato. My favorite of all time is the orange peruche. It's a little orange one. I like the yellow pears for the yellow, but I used to love the Sweet 100 red ones. Loved those, and then they stopped making those, stopped breeding those, and they made like Super Sweet 100, which I didn't feel like were as good, and now they have Sweet Millions, which I feel like are not as good. So I don't like Super Sweet 100 or Sweet Millions. I did plant the Super Sweet because that's my least evil out of the 2 of those, while I'm trying like 6 other different small red tomatoes. I have so far, I will say so far, I'm pretty sure that I like the jelly bean. I've tried the Jasper, and I think that I did not like that one. It had a weird taste. But I will, when I do my seed review, I will have serious notes on these because I'm looking for, I would really like to just grow 3 that I like, yellow, red, orange, and leave it at that. I did a long time ago plant some beautiful, oh, what were they? They were almost like, I think they were Napa Chardonnay or something like that. They were like greenish, blackish. They were gorgeous. They just had no flavor, and so I didn't keep planting them, but they were really beautiful plants. Let's come over and talk the tomato saga. So this row is the other, there's a couple Amish pastes down there, but this is other similar stuff. San Marzano, Juliet, Roma. I don't know what to say. Every now and then I retry, and the Juliet I will occasionally retry. My mom loved those. It's over here on the end. I have not had any of those ripen yet this year. It's doing better though than the San Marzanos, which I understand San Marzanos taste good, but so do a lot of the other paste tomatoes, and I feel like they are bigger and more prolific. So I probably won't grow them again. I said that like 3 years ago, and I didn't for a couple years, and I just tried to, I think I encountered some old seed and was like, I'll just grow some this year, use up the seed. The Amish paste. So I grow Amish paste for my canning tomatoes because they are, I'm seeing damage as I look back here. Some branches coming through and broken. Paste tomatoes for canning are good because they have less of the juice. So if you're making like spaghetti sauce or tomato sauce or, ketchup, anything like that, you don't have to cook it down forever and ever because there's less juice in there and it's more meat. So it's a time saver. It really is. And this year, for the 2nd year in a row, I have had problems with the tomatoes. The funny thing is, tomatoes to me, I've been gardening as an adult for almost a quarter of a century. Grew up gardening with my mom, got my first house when I was 21, and one of the first things I did was plant a garden. I'm 47 now, so it's been a while, right? And people will always be like, what do I start with? And I would always suggest tomatoes because they were so easy to grow. I never had a bad tomato year, but last year and this year have both been struggle bus years for my tomatoes. And it's weather. Last year it was so wet, it was fungusy, and this year it was so hot they weren't putting on fruit, and then it was so wet it's fungusy, and if you get from dry to wet really fast, it splits the tomatoes. So I've also had a critter out here occasionally eating a tomato. So I went ahead yesterday. It could end up, tomatoes, if you have a long season, could end up just going off and doing great by the end of the season. But because I use them for so many things, it's the thing I can the most, I pretty much make all of our tomato products except tomato paste. Diced tomatoes, tomatoes with green chilies, ketchup, barbecue sauce, spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, like all the things tomato I make from our garden. And so what I did this year was I went ahead and yesterday I drove up to Virginia, it's only like an hour and a half, to a little farm store there that I like, where they have good prices on stuff, and picked up 2 boxes. They were $10 a box, 2 boxes of canning tomatoes. So I could go ahead and get started on some things. They aren't my homegrown ones. They're probably not even organic, but they're great, beautiful tomatoes for a good price. And I didn't want to lose a whole year of food preservation. I will have plenty of projects left to do if these take off and do wonderfully. They are, I have noticed, starting to put on some new fruit. So fingers crossed that the weather cooperates, and the end of the summer I can finish off the year preserving stuff with homegrown produce. Here you can see the other side of my onion row. I have harvested all this. You're sitting in what used to be being the row, and then what's left down there will be ready to harvest soon. In fact, some of those wallows are ready now. And then the weed-ridden area is the potatoes. So they are not ready yet. Coming up here, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take you out and bring you down the rows so that you can see both some of the damage and, oh man, and how some things are doing. Oh, wow. That really, I'm going to have to come out here today and do some damage control. Okay, so this is where, see all those branches that have been blown down? That's pretty rough. All right, so this is where, so this first row over here are my slicers that I grow over here, my beefsteaks and my mulmatoros. And they're just now, I need to trim off some fungusy stuff, but they are just now setting fruit. Partly I got them in late, but partly, like I mentioned, the weather. They're loaded now, which is great, so long as I can keep the birds off of them and keep them from splitting. I'm super excited about them. But if you come over here, starts the experimental row. Hi, ladies. This starts the experimental row, and this is, I'm going to have to look at each tag. Next year, what I'm going to have to do is get those tags that you can tie to the fence, because the little white ones that I use in the pots, the birds come and pull them out and move them around. So let's see, over here I have brown sugar. This is new to me. It's just got a little bit of fruit in there. I don't even know if you can see it. It's supposed to be sweet and like a darker, almost brown tomato. This one has a few things on it. A couple down there. This is the Dr. Witchies, which was one I have grown before and didn't love, but everyone loves it, so I thought I'd give it a try again. Marmalade Skies, I am very excited about this one. This is a new one from Johnny Seeds, and I have a broken branch here I need to see if I can fix from last night's storm, and I am super excited for this one. I hope it tastes great. I think this is another Marmalade Skies. And then I see I have lost tags down here. I don't know what these are. I can go back to other videos, I believe. This is partly, if I'm not doing YouTube, I still take a video of what I plan to wear precisely for this reason. So I can go back, and I leave them on my phone so I can go back and figure them out. Wow. So I do have a tag back here. What's this one say? It's on the ground back here. Big Rainbow Tomato. Maybe that's what that is. Big Rainbow. Let's see. delicious tomatoes on the ground, so it probably belongs there. So those were those other ones we're looking at. Okay, you can see these are Amish paste. This is where they start, but I also finish over here. These are more experimental tomatoes. This is a persimmon tomato. That was one I lost very early on in planting. Restarted one from seed and hoping I can get some to try before the season is up, but that's why that one is so small. The great white tomato, those are doing pretty well. This is Harvest Moon. I have one of these on my counter right now. I picked it so that it wouldn't get taken, and it's like a yellow one when it's done. It looked like a bird had pecked at it, so I was like, I was going to pick it. It was almost ripe. I picked it to see if I could finish ripening it on the counter before the rest of it rotted so I could taste it. And then here, see, these are the Pattersons. They're supposed to be good storage onions, and these are the Walla Wallas. They get big and beautiful for me. And I will be harvesting these in the next couple days. And then the potatoes are weedy. So then this row, last thing in the garden tour, this row is these are the peppers. And these are a lot of experimental peppers. So I was worried at first. Okay, so these are pimentos right here. And one of my pimentos died just randomly. It was loaded down, so it made me sad, but it just randomly died, just like went floppy. I pulled it out, but at first I was confused. I was like, some of these don't look the same. Are they really all pimentos? And then I realized I planted two different types. I planted some regular type of pimento and a sheep's nose pimento. That is why they look different. And then down here, let's see, look, beefsteak. This is a tomato tag over here at the peppers that a bird brought over here. Ugh, this is killing me. I'll have to go back to videos to see what these are. This is a sweet bonnet pepper. Okay, yeah, those usually are small plants. But look at what's happening to them. I have not gotten a good pepper off of those. Ollie F1s, I did try one of these. They were yellow. It was okay. These, I don't know what this is. I'm going to have to go back. These purple ones are cool. This is very prolific too. I've pulled a bunch of these off and they're good. They taste just like a green bell pepper though. These are Icos. They're really pretty, but they taste just like a green bell pepper. They're slightly more watery, slightly more, what am I trying to say? Like a lighter flavor, but it's a green bell pepper flavor. And then look at this thing. This yellow one right here is loaded. And again, don't know what that is, because these are mostly experimental. I've got an orange one. I'm gonna have to come out and pick that one. Yay! These purple ones are the Pippin's Golden. They start out purple and they're pretty, and then they turn yellow and golden when they're ripe. These little ones right here are Stayed on Select. I feel like these grow better for me in a bed, but they're just your standard pepper. That is it for today's garden tour, you guys. Thanks so much for joining me and watching the progress as we grow this year. And I hope to see you guys on future videos. Remember, this August we are doing Every Bit Counts. And I hope to see you guys on the next video.